Hello, welcome to the SuccessFactors Recruiting Knowledge Transfer Sessions. Today we will be talking about Manage Templates too. So I'm in Admin Center and I will show you how you can open the Manage Templates page and what exactly you can do that. So what we normally do is we use tool search here and we type Manage Templates. So the Manage Templates tool, remember that it's not only used by recruiting, but by other modules as well. So that is why you see here in my instance, I have other modules enabled, and I do have the permissions to see all of this. So if that is your case, don't be surprised because again, the Manage Tools template, is not a tool that is only used by recruiting. So the Manage Templates tool allows you to make minor modifications to the recruiting templates in Admin Center here in this page without having to request a change to the XML configuration in provisioning. So as you know, you don't have access to provisioning. Provisioning is our backend system that only professional services or partners are going to use to make configuration. So as a customer, as an admin, you are able to make some minor changes to the XML templates in recruiting by using this Manage Templates tool. You can modify all the recruiting templates, so the requisition, the application, the candidate profile, and the offer detail template. It is important to remember that the Manage Templates tool, it's a very powerful tool. So the modifications that we make here can have a direct impact on the candidate experience, the integrations, custom integrations, and any other downward integrations really. So we recommend that only experienced users make those changes. So please keep this in mind when using the Manage Templates tool. So there are several things that we can do here, and I will open each one of these templates to show you what we can do. So when you open the Manage Templates page, this is what you will see. So I have here recruiting management, and I have here, excuse me, all the templates that I am allowed to change. So if I click on any of the templates, let's just say job requisition, I will see a list of the templates that exist for the job requisition. So the job requisition is the type of template, but then within the type of template job requisition, I can have multiple templates. In my case, I have the pipeline job rec and the standard job rec. You can see that I have some information here. I have several columns of information. So we can see the status of the template. We can see if the template is active or not. We can have a template and then for some reason we don't need that template anymore. So the template can definitely be disabled. So here you would see the status of your template. Here you will see the version of your template. So a template can have many versions. So whenever you make a change in a template, you are essentially creating a new version of that template. So here I can see that my pipeline job rec is on the 13th version. And then here I have version 24 for my standard job rec. If you click on the version number, you are able to see all the previous versions. You can see who changed. You can see when it was changed. You can even download the XML template and you can restore. So let's say that you made a change and then you were testing your change and you found an error. So if that happens, you will want to restore your previous version. So if you know that your previous version is working, then you will want to restore your previous version. Okay, and then try to make the change again. But it's always good to have the versions because we never lose track of what we did. And then again, I also have my updated on column here. And then if I had a template description, I would be able to see that here. So let's say that you would like to make a change to the standard job requisition template. We click on the template name, and now the template is going to open in an editable pane. So you can make your desired changes, and then you can save them. So this is some information about the template that we wouldn't necessarily change. Definitely not change the template name. The application template wouldn't be something that we would change. We could change the posting days, add a template description, maybe the supported languages, but you wouldn't necessarily need to change any of this. Most likely the changes that you will make will be here. So as you can see, I have several links, and I will open each one of them and we can see them. But once you make your changes, you are able to either publish or click here in Save as Draft. Now this one is grayed out because I haven't really made any change, but if you made a change, this would be clickable. So when you save as draft, you are not exactly making those changes live in your system. So you are just saving them because you will want to return later on to this version and make more edits. When you click on the Publish button, you are actually creating a new version of the template, and you are publishing those changes so they will be visible to the users once you publish them. So definitely make use of the Save as Draft. Let's say that you are making a change, but then something comes up, you need to go into a meeting or you need to validate something with someone. You will want to save as draft first and then come back and continue, and then you will want to publish. So this is my job requisition again. These are the things that you will be able to change on a job requisition. So you are able to change the fields. You are able to change the field permissions, the button permissions, candidate email permission, candidate SMS permission, the listing fields for the tokens, and the mobile fields. And the number that you see here references the number of data that exists. So for example, I have here 112 fields defined. This means that I have 112 fields defined as of now. And if I want to change that, if I want to add a new field or change something or even delete a field, I can definitely click here. So see, it says click to modify. I can definitely click in there and then make my changes. Remember that if you need to delete a field from a template, make sure to remove the permissions for that field. If you are removing a field, so a field always, once we define a field, we always define permissions for that field. So the permissions will be who is able to see the field or to edit the field. So if you want to remove a field from a template, you are going to delete the field, but then you also you will also want to delete the field permissions. We also have here this general settings here, and there's a little arrow that I can open. And then I have here the application status configuration. So here you will be able to define who has access to features like generating an offer approval, sending an offer letter, interview assessments, onboarding initiation, and so on. So here you would be able to make those changes. So let's open the fields defined here. Okay. So this is where you are able to, well, either make a change to a field that already exists or create a new field. So this is the list of fields that I have configured. It is a big list. Notice that I have custom fields and I have standard fields. So the standard fields will display to you a drop down and you simply choose the field ID because it's a standard field, so it's a delivered field by the product. So you are going to pick the field ID, the field type, and then you are going to provide a label, a description, if you would like. What is the English? Well, in this case, this is the default language, so that's why I have default value English US. And then you are going to specify if the field is required or not. So see this one, which is not the default language. So again, I'm just picking my field ID here and then field type, label, description, and required attribute, true or false. If it's false, it means that the field is optional, so it can be left blank. And then if you have a custom field, you need to provide your own field ID. It is a good practice to add custs in the ID so we can easily identify, especially when looking at the XML template, we can easily identify the custom fields. And then you are going to pick your field type. You're going to provide the label. Again, the description is optional, and you are going to define the required attribute. So really the difference is that the standard fields display a list of IDs and you just pick one, whereas the custom fields, you need to provide your own ID. So I'm just scrolling down. As you can see, there's a lot of information here, a lot of data, a lot of fields. If you pick, this is a good example. So if you pick a pick list type of field, see that a pick list ID field appears here and a parent pick list ID is also here. So whenever a field is defined as a pick list, we need to choose what is the pick list ID that that field is going to use. So that is why you can see that information here. So always remember, when you want to add a new field, you are going to, let me actually go up above. You are going to click here in the add button, and then you are going to select if it's a standard and you have all of these options. And you are going to, so you're going to pick a standard field or a custom field. And again, if it's a standard, you can choose the field that you would like to create. So that would be like either a normal standard field or a filter, multi-select, job code, operator, or operator team field. So you just need to select standard or custom, give an ID, give it a label, define required or optional. And then there's obviously an extra step that we need to take, which is define the permissions for that field. So let me cancel. This brings me to my next link here, field permissions. So remember, in the beginning, I said whenever we define a field, we create the field and then we permission the field. So that would be here in the field's permissions. So again, these are the permissions that already exist for me in my instance. This is going to be the field permission description, field permission type, the role name. So who has access? Who has this permission? To which user are we, or to which role actually are we associating this permission with? In this case, is the job rec originator. And then you have the field reference ID. And here you have the list of all the fields that you have created. And you can just pick all of them. So the leading practice is if let's say the job rec originator should have read permissions to several fields, we recommend creating one block of permissions for all those fields. So you don't need to do this individually. See here that I have 64 fields. So this means that all these 64 fields are read-only for my job rec originator. So always try to combine the permissions into blocks. So if the originator should have read-only permissions to several fields, don't create a block of permissions for each field, rather combine them. And you could even select more roles here. So let's say that the originator and the recruiter should have the same permissions. You could definitely add the recruiter here as well. And then you also need to pick here the status. So this is going to be the status of the job requisition. Remember that a job requisition has 3 statuses or 3 states: pre-approved, approved, and closed. When we define permissions in a job requisition template, we define the permissions by job rec state. So permissions in the pre-approved status are most likely different from the permissions in the approved status, and same for the closed status. So in the pre-approved, normally more users have permissions to edit the fields because that is really when the job rec is being created. But then once the job rec is approved, we wouldn't want to allow a lot of roles to be able to edit the requisition, maybe just a recruiting admin or a recruiter, but definitely not all the rules. And then in the closed status, the same. The closed status really means that the job requisition was closed, most likely it was failed or it was canceled for some reason. So we don't want users to be changing the values of the fields. Okay, so remember, create a field and then permission that field. And then you have all of these other options to define the other permissions and the other parameters. If you, so let's say that you have made a change, you publish that change. If you don't see your change being reflected in your template, you can definitely run a refresh show data metadata. This will help the system to really make your changes live. So if you don't see that, just remember that you can do metadata refresh, and this will most likely solve. So now let me go back here, just canceling. I don't want to make any changes. So let me just open the other templates so we can look at that. So the job application, again, I can have multiple job application templates. So I have the list of my templates here, and then the other columns that we've seen. And for the application, we even have the default one. So let me just open. So for the application, you are able to look at the fields, permissions, field permissions, and button permissions. And then we also have here the overrides, definitions, and even the candidate summary options to determine the columns that appear in the application page of the job requisition. So again, if you need to modify or add new fields or permissions, you simply click in any of these links here according to what you need to do. This is going to be pretty similar. You have a standard field and a custom field, so you can pick. So this is an example of a standard one. Again, if it's a standard one, you just pick the value or the ID on the list here. Field type. Then you provide a label, a description, and then we have all of these attributes here for the public: read only, required, anonymized, sensitive. And then we have the pick list ID, pick list country region, parent pick list, forward intact, and field format. So not everything is required. So as you can see, these are the required ones because they have this little red star. And then some of them will be optional. So here you are always going to pick a true or false. So if the field is false, it means that is public false, it means that nobody is able to see it. This is if the field is read-only or not, if it's required or not, and then anonymized and sensitive are going to be for anonymization processes. And then if you have a custom field, that is going to be very similar. But again, in the field ID, you are going to be responsible for providing that. You will not going to pick from a list of fields. So again, just click on any of these to make the changes that you need to do. And now let me go back to the previous list. Now let's take a look at the candidate profile. So candidate profile, I only see one template, and that is expected. The candidate profile is really only one. We cannot have more than one candidate profile templates, but the candidate profile template can definitely be or have a specific configuration for internals and for externals. So we can definitely configure the candidate profile template in a way that the internal candidates see some fields and that the external candidates see different fields and have different permissions. But then again, the template is only one. So here I have my template name, the description, last modified date, and then as you can see, I have the instructions fields here. So you can change that here. So we can have like a generic instruction, or for internals, externals, even for the operator, we can have an instruction, and then same for the footer. And then if you need to change the fields, you are going to click here, fields defined. And then here again in the general settings, there's always something. So we can define the background elements here. And here we can define the field permissions and the mapping with Employee Central. And then we also have more options here in the Add New button. I'm going to cancel and go back. And now finally we have the offer detail template. This one, again, you can have multiple offer templates. You can check the if the templates are enabled or not, the version, updated on, and descriptions. Here you can see the fields and modify the fields. I have 9 fields defined, the mobile fields. And then in the general settings, I have here the offer approvers. This is going to be where we are going to define the workflow of approval. So what are the steps of approval of the offer? Oh, this one, it's already here actually. So let me just go back. just show you something else here in the fields to find. So in the offer, the fields that we can add are going to be fields that we are referencing from the job requisition, fields that we are referencing from the job application, or even standalone offer fields. So whenever you need to add a field, definitely choose the type of field that you would like to add here. So job rec standard or custom, application standard or custom, or a standalone. Standalone means that it's a field specific to the offer. It does not exist in any of the other templates. But then again, if the field already exists in the other templates, so a very common one is going to be the location. Location is very often defined in the job requisition, and then we also want to show it in the offer detail template. So you wouldn't create a new location field. You would essentially use the location field that exists in the offer. So you would pick this one, job requisition standard field. I'm just going to cancel and going back. Okay, so this is it for the Manage Templates tool. Definitely explore all of the options that we have here and let us know if you have any questions. And again, always remember that we have the versioning here. This is really the audit log, so you can definitely make your changes. The system is going to save a new version with a new timestamp. And then if anything happens, really, if there's any issues, you can always restore the prior version. Okay, so always select the template type, then the template name, click here in the version, and you can restore the previous version and take a look at all of this information. And this is going to be the same for the other template types as well. So definitely make use of this. Thank you.